Well, thank you for your well wishes and everything. I'm back. That was indeed the hospital. He's still in surgery, but he's off the heart lung machine. Uh, and the what they were most worried about uh, uh, turns out that it was not what they were most worried about. It's still very serious, but it was a good phone call and it was good news. So, if you don't mind, we'll just pick it up right there again with the second to the last installment. This is Mary of Magdalene talking with Brother Apollonius, and they're still at their home in Bethany. Do you think he will come to the house with this multitude surrounding us? I do not know, Mary, Brother Apollonius answered. He took silent comfort in the knowledge that after today he would no longer have to lie to Martha and Mary. The crowd outside is filled with agents of our enemies. We've been told that those who sought his life in Jerusalem have for the moment ceased their persecution of him, but we all must remain very cautious. He will most certainly wish to pray at Lazar's grave, Matthias said. I'm sure he will visit here first to show his respects and to learn the location of the tomb. Mary folded her arms and nervously bit her lip. I will remain here until the noon hour. If he has not arrived by then, I will seek him out on the road from Bethabara. If his life is in danger, I wish to be near him. Brother Apollonius said nothing. He resigned himself to let the events of the day unfold as they would. His primary concern now was Lazarus's health. The effects of the venom would soon be wearing off. If Lazar had succumbed to panic and not sought refuge in the death meditation, the last 4 days of paralysis would have been an unspeakable nightmare. Even now, he might be struggling to free himself from the cerements of the tomb. His heart seized with fear, his mind racked with hallucinations. It was a horrible thought. Even more unthinkable was the possibility that the poison had actually taken Lazar's life. He remembered the words of Joseph of Ramtha. It would destroy the Messiah. All would be lost. Shortly after breakfast, the crowd hummed with reports that Jesus and his disciples had broken camp by the Jordan and were heading toward Bethany. A handful of children ran down the road in hopes of being the first to see them coming, but returned within the hour with nothing to report. Jesus looked up and squinted at the mid-morning sun. In an hour he would be in Bethany. The path rose steeply as they neared the town. Simon and Andrew trudged silently at his side. The sons of thunder and the rest trailed listlessly behind. Master, will we be seeing Lazar's sisters? Asked Simon. Jesus answered with a cold glare that made Simon avert his eyes. We will visit their home first. Master, I am too ashamed to speak with sisters. Will you please tell them of my sorrow that their brother is dead? Jesus stopped in his tracks and turned to face the oncoming train of disciples. When they were all in view, he shouted at them. The rock grieves that Lazar is dead. I will tell you again, Lazar only sleeps, and I shall awaken him. Do you not believe this? Do you not believe in me? The others nodded and mumbled half-heartedly. Jesus smiled. For a moment he actually enjoyed the idea of raising the dead. It's high noon. I will go meet him. With these words, Mary veiled her head, marched out of her front door, and pushed her way through the watchful crowd. It is Lazar's sister. She goes to the necropolis to mourn. No, she goes to meet Jesus. The mob instantly mobilized and pushed and elbowed each other for the honor of being first in line behind Mary. Matthias and Brother Apollonius fell in about 50 yards behind the leaders. Matthias surveyed the crowd and estimated the number to be over 100. The more witnesses, the better. This should please Joseph of Ramtha, Matthias whispered. Yes, but we must not let this mob hinder his arrival at the tomb. If they chose to stop him, there is nothing we could do, Brother Apollonius answered. Lazar's right leg spasmed violently and tore against the dampened linen. His bladder and bowels emptied, their foul contents soaked through the fabric. Slowly, as if emerging from a pool of warm water, he became conscious of his environment. He struggled to open his eyes. He could not. His body was still paralyzed. He struggled to remember the initiation, the death meditation, the sacraments, the sound of the wine cup hitting the floor. I am that which remains. I am that which remains. Our brother casts no shadow. I am that which remains. He tried to take a deep breath to re-inhabit his body, but he had no control of his breathing. He realized he was not breathing. He began to panic. I am that which remains. I am that which remains. Suddenly, the memory of the death meditation returned. He passed the pylons. He defeated the guardians. I am not afraid. I am not the breath. I am that which remains. An echo of the supreme moment rang through his soul like the pealing of a great bell. I am not the bell. I am that which remains. The quivering of the pealing bell. His chest spasmed, and his abdominal muscles cramped in knots. He took notice as if it were happening to someone else, something else. Perhaps it is dying. Let it, if it will. I am that which remains. Run, Master, they've come to kill us. Andrew seized Jesus by the arms and pulled him behind Simon and the sons of thunder. Run, we will cover your escape. They will not harm me. See, it is led by Mary, the sister of Lazar. Jesus fought his way to the forefront of his entourage. Mary picked up her pace as she spied Jesus. After only a few steps, she threw back her veil, and started to run. Jesus did not run, although he wanted to. He continued with measured theatrical steps until he stood face to face with Mary. She fell at his feet in the dust and cried, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. To the disciples and those who followed Mary, the scene was poignant beyond description. All who saw it were moved to tears. Jesus was struck dumb with emotion. He looked up at the sun to reckon the time. He scanned the crowd and spotted Matthias and Brother Apollonius. Where have you laid him? He shouted to the people. Come and see, Lord, they replied. Jesus helped Mary to her feet. Suddenly, they found themselves enveloped by the mob. For a moment, Jesus worried he'd not be allowed to move. "Take me to the place where he sleeps." The crowd heaved forward as a single organism, and as it moved, it rumbled with expectant chatter like the drone of a giant insect. The excitement was so tangible that Jesus felt as though he were carried aloft by the great hum. He could not feel the earth beneath his feet. Suddenly, everything stopped. He stood again upon the dusty ground. Directly in front of him, the crowd separated to the left and right, revealing the pitted landscape of the necropolis. Standing before an oversized stone stood the veiled figure of Martha. Jesus wept. The crowd murmured, saying, "See how he loved him." But some of them said, "Could not he who opened the eyes of the blind have kept this man from dying?" "Take away this stone," he said. "But Lord," said Martha, "by this time his body stinks. It has been dead for 4 days." "Take away the stone," he shouted so that all could hear. 4 men ran to the entrance of the tomb and rolled away the stone. Jesus stripped off his outer garment and climbed through the narrow entrance of the cave. He stood for a moment and let his eyes adjust to the light. Martha was correct. The body did indeed stink. He took a deep breath and smelled with joy. Piss and feces. Human waste never smelled so good. Lazar was alive. He moved to Lazar's side and unraveled the linen strips that covered the head and face. He then loosened the wrappings around the neck, chest, and wrists. Lazar was still not breathing, but the presence of sweat under his nose told Jesus that the venom was now impotent. He linked the fingers of his hands to make a double fist and pounded them twice in rapid succession upon Lazar's chest. He then pushed firmly on the abdomen. A dark brown plug of mucus shot out of Lazar's mouth, and the young man gasped for air. Jesus laughed with relief. Lazar coughed and gasped for air. He could hear Jesus laughing. Through his coughing, he started to laugh also. Control was coming back to Lazar's body. He rolled from side to side. Jesus quickly freed his arms and unraveled the coverings of the right hand. He gently pushed Lazar back down on his back and assured himself his heartbeat and breathing had returned to normal. He then grasped the boy by the right hand and wrist with his own and pulled him to a sitting position. Putting his lips to Lazar's right ear, he whispered the sacred token that had been used to raise the dead since the beginning of the Carmelite order. "Thank you, my Lord," Lazar said between coughs. Jesus smiled. "Perfect Master, thank you." "What day is this?" asked Lazar. "Resurrection Day," Jesus said as he hurriedly unwound the wrappings that bound Lazar's legs. "And the world is waiting for the sun to rise. I'm afraid we've not kept this moment very private. In fact, today you are the most famous man in Palestine. I do not understand. You will in a moment. Wait here until I call you. And that's the end of that. Tomorrow we'll have the epilogue and the ending to Accidental Christ. I hope you've enjoyed this, my novel. And later in the week, hopefully, if I can find something else I think you'll enjoy, I'll start another book for us. Until then, we're still waiting for phone calls from Nebraska. I'll give you an update tomorrow. So continue to be good to yourself and be good to each other. Do what thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will.